Welcome to my quiet living room for now, hopefully. I hear the gentle buzz of Camden's baby monitor. I hear a light sound of a movie being watched upstairs by Skylar. And I'm getting cozy in my little favorite nook of the couch, which is like, we have a sectional, like a chaise sectional, so I'm just gonna get cozy back here with my blankie. I have two blankies. I don't know why, but pressing the live button makes me want to share like way too much, like overshare about everything, like explain everything that I do. I was just about to explain how I use a lot of blankets on the couch because I don't like the way my feet feel on this couch, which is really frustrating because I specifically ordered several samples of fabric when I was picking out this couch for our new house, and I rubbed them against my feet to make sure they felt nice and soft. So embarrassing. And there were like some samples that I was just like, nope, that's catchy. It feels like Velcro on my dry feet because I'm always wearing like sandals. And so I picked out this fabric, which was so baby soft on my feet. And I was like, this is gonna be great. And it was for like the first month of having it. And then just like the wear and tear of the couch and just it like kind of getting a little more like pilled and like coarser, I guess. And now my feet catch on it and I wanna die. Anyway, I've got my tea. If you don't have your tea, go grab one real quick, make yourself a cup of coffee, just some water, and get your blankies and get cozy with me because we have a really fun topic today. This is our first Tea and Talk Tuesday. You know what? I just realized I called it Tuesday Tea and Talk, but I want to call it Tea and Talk Tuesday, and I don't know why, but that makes a big difference to me. Tea and Talk Tuesday. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Now it's going to be a big hit because I changed the name. So the idea for this is partly selfish. It's just kind of like my time, just like my little therapy where I get to talk and share with you all of just my problems, just all of the things that I go through as a mom and as a person. And hopefully you can identify with it, and I would love to get your feedback, your comments, your suggestions, your ideas, so this can be really more of a chat and not so much me just talking at a camera. So grab your cuppa and let's get started. Our first topic, yes, I still have my trusty little clipboard, keeps me on tasks, sort of, and it also works as a tea holder. Okay, got my other blankie here. Get nice and cozy. So our topic of the day is surviving public places with your children. So I'll take a deep breath. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 9. My youngest is 2. And he is so very 2. He is the 2iest 2-year-old that ever 2'd. He's 2.5, which is like just that halfway through the year where he's like, I'm gonna go big or go home with my 2iestness. And yeah, he's crazy. If you know my Camden, he's a love. He's got dimples that will just melt your heart, and he lashes like for days, but he is nuts, and he just like drives me insane. Anyway, this is not just about Camden, but he's quite involved in the embarrassment factor in terms of being in public places. But I've been through very many embarrassing and just very trying situations in public with my kids, and somehow I survived. Sometimes it's one of those situations where I have to leave because I'm just gonna cry, or I have to leave because I'm gonna scream, or I wait it out and then I call my mom or my husband or pray and just cry or scream or just complain about how hard life is with all these children. So I was thinking about some certain instances in my life and that I wanted to share with you that I thought you would get a kick out of, because one of the reasons I even have this channel and have this Tea and Talk Tuesday is I kind of want to break the barrier between real life and social media fake life. We all, as much as even I want to show the real and the raw, even I struggle with that. Like I go to post and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just stick a little filter on this because it just makes it look better. It's just like little things like that. Even people who want to keep it real struggle to make things just look a little bit nicer and sweeter than maybe they actually are. So one of the reasons for these talks is just to get real and to make sure that the people watching this, if they are going through any kind of struggle, as silly as it may be, even if it's just you're having a bad day because your 2-year-old's driving you nuts, like I want you to hear it from my mouth live on camera, like my 2-year-old's driving me nuts too. Let's get through this together. So surviving public places with your children. My main point in this is kids are embarrassing. That's just part of their job as children, and part of our job as parents is to be embarrassing to them as they grow up, as they become teenagers. So the stories that they give us now that embarrass us, we should be able to use against them as they get older. So it's kind of like a give and take thing. We'll have our day one day. So I shared a picture on Instagram the other day of a very recent embarrassing story where I wasn't on the verge of tears, but I actually felt like I could cry right now if somebody like says something to me or, I don't know, makes me feel any worse about this. So it's summertime, the kids are home from school, and I have to go to Publix. I don't do grocery delivery for several reasons, so I take the kids to Publix with me, and generally they're pretty well behaved. We've got kind of a system down. I just kind of have to expect, like, it's not gonna be perfect. Even if I tell them don't ask for things, they're still gonna ask for things. It's just we get through it. I have a list, and most of the time it's okay. It's not easy, it's not stress-free, but it's okay. And then the other day, we almost exited the grocery store without any kind of disaster situation. But then, of course, Camden remembered that he's 2 and he has a very important job to do. So the kids I have Camden in the cart and I have the 3 kids just walking with me, and I'm unloading groceries. And of course, anytime kids see something they can help with, they want to help. And even if it's something that's not really helpful, we have to make a choice as a parent and say, I can either say, no, I got it, just stand there and wait. Or we can say, sure, you can help, and then give them like a little job to do. So I'm trying to be a good mom, and I'm with my girls who are 8 and 9, like they should be able to load groceries onto the little belt and it should be okay. And they got like just a little overexcited, and it almost became like a race between the 2 of them. And they started making this grocery mountain on the conveyor belt. I mean, like the plastic containers of strawberries, which are, they'll pop open at any moment, are like falling off like an avalanche off of this mountain. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, well, not thinking to myself, I said it out loud. I was like, girls, like, you asked to help and you're not being helpful right now. It's not helpful to make a grocery mountain. Like, you have to, if you're gonna do it, do it in an organized way. You know that that's not the way I would load the groceries. So I'm giving them this whole speech, which is already like semi-embarrassing that I have to like give my girls a talking to in the middle of the Publix line. I just want to get through it. And of course, while I have my attention on educating my daughters on how to load groceries onto the conveyor belt, Camden, completely out of my view, he's like kind of behind me. I was standing right next to him. He's in the cart. And I guess he reached out and there was a stack of Miller Ultra beer bottle containers, 12 packs of beer bottles, cardboard, like little thin cardboard boxes, just kind of stacked up to shoulder level. And while I was instructing the girls on how not to make a grocery mountain, Camden decided to just put his hand on a box and pull it. I don't know exactly how he did it. They're pretty heavy. He just pulled it and I just hear smash, and I feel beer. Well, I just felt liquid, but once I looked, I realized what it was. beer all over my feet, and it made a really loud crash because it was 12 bottles falling onto a tile floor in the middle of the grocery store. So I turn around and I see it just smashed, and there's just beer like slowly but surely pouring out, sudsing like all over the floor. And I'm like in shock, and I'm okay. So I look up, and the bag girl, this older teenage girl who has always been very sweet to me, very helpful with the kids, and just such a doll. She's actually one specific one that I've actually called Publix, and just to tell them how wonderful she is and that she should lead the training on how to be a great bag person. Like, she's such a sweetheart. And I don't know if she was having a bad day, or I don't know if there was some like confusion, miscommunication, or I just kind of took it the wrong way. But I tried to make a joke because I was so mortified that this just happened, and there was like nothing I could do about it. And we all know, like, I'm standing there with 4 kids. It's not like I can like ask where the mop is and try to help clean it up. There was nothing I could do about it. So the best thing I could do was to like alert them, like, yes, it's spilling out, like this needs to be cleaned up now. So I said in like kind of a joking way, but I guess I didn't seem like I was joking or something. I don't know. It was just so awkward. You tell me what you think. Tell me if her reaction you think was because of the way that I said it, or if you think it was just an awkward situation altogether and had nothing to do with me. Please tell me that one. So I look up, and the cashier and the bag girl, look up kind of concerned, like, what just happened? And I was like, yeah, clean up in aisle 1, like, oh my gosh. And I was like trying to make a joke, like, clean up in aisle 4, but it was aisle 1. So I was like, clean up in aisle 1, kind of letting them know, like, yeah, it's bad, come quick. But as I said it, I'm like, gosh, I hope that didn't sound like I was like, clean this up now. Clean up this mess that my child has made. Clean it up right here. Yeah, get over here now. I hope it didn't sound like that. But as the words came out, I was like, I feel like it might have. And then her reaction was just very, I don't know, it was weird. Like, maybe it's just because she's not a mom, but like, I needed somebody to be like, oh my gosh, are you guys okay? Oh, we'll be right there. Don't worry about it. It was an accident. I just needed somebody to do that. And there was nobody around who was willing. Everybody was just like, and like the bag girl was just like, okay. So she stops bagging the groceries. So of course I go to bag the groceries, and she goes around and is like getting towels and baking soda, I think. She got something. It was pouring some sort of something all over it. Like, it's just beer, like, it's liquid. Like, get some paper towels and like, let's not get dramatic about it. I don't know. Is that like a thing? You clean up beer with baking soda? I don't know. So she's cleaning it up, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's okay. And I was just like, that it doesn't seem like, and I didn't say this out loud, I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's okay, because you seem really put off by it. Now, not that I expected her to be like, no, it's wonderful. I love cleaning up spilled beer in the middle of my shift. It's not that I expected that, but I don't know if you can feel like what I was feeling. It was just like, it was an accident. Like, feel for me. I have 4 kids. My 2-year-old, who doesn't know what he's doing, kind of, knocked over this thing that was just waiting to be knocked over by a child in a cart. And, so then I'm bagging everything, and she's like trying to figure out, but she just seemed like really not happy. And she was in the middle of, and I felt bad that I couldn't help her. And then like, as she was still cleaning it up and we were like heading out, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, just no eye contact. It's okay. And it was just so awkward. I literally felt like I was in trouble, or like, I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to cry. So, yeah, it was embarrassing. And it was just one of those things where, this is how I like, how do you survive this? Here's how I deal with it. I tell people about it. I'm like, this just happened. Of course, I text my husband to let him know, and, always give him the whole, like, my job is harder than yours kind of thing. We just have a joke about that. It's not like, it's all in good fun. He has a very nice, easy job where he sits in an office and talks to other adults, and yeah, it's pretty easy. So he's had a whole string of not easy jobs, so we kind of make a joke about that. His job is really easy, and mine has stayed extremely difficult or gotten increasingly more difficult. So here's another story for you. Another time, this one's more funny. I wasn't totally embarrassed. This was just like amazing. So a couple of years ago, many years ago, I was walking into Publix again with Jana and Skylar, and they were toddlers. So Jana was 4 probably, and Skylar was 3, but very young. And I am holding their hands, and I must have had Andy with me too, because I had him. So I've got the kids and I'm holding their hands, and we're going into Publix, and this woman walks out and she has dyed bright pink hair. And Skylar, who just always talked like she had marbles in her mouth, like couldn't say her R's, she just, oh, talk like this. We're walking in, and she just, with the sweetest little toddler voice, goes, "I love your hair," like that to this woman. And the woman was just like, "Oh, thank you so much," and just thought it was so adorable that Skylar did that. And she continues on, and as we're walking in, I just took that opportunity to just tell Skylar what a wonderful thing to do for somebody. You notice something that you found interesting or special about somebody, and you just shared it with them. And I just made the biggest deal. I was like, "Skylar, that is so wonderful that you just gave her a compliment. I bet you made her feel so special and so good. Thank you so much for doing that." Like, I was so proud of her, and I just thought it was, because she's a shy type of girl and always has been. So I just loved that she just like spoke up, saw that she loved this woman's hair, and just made her day. And I was like, "Skylar, that is so amazing." So now my little Jana, who is probably about 4, noticed all the praise that Skylar was getting from this little compliment that she gave. And I didn't realize that Jana was like taking that in, but the more I was, I'm assuming that the more I was praising Skylar and making such a big deal, that Jana was probably thinking, "Yeah, I want to do something like that." So Jana finds the next person that passes by and says to an older man, "I love your hair." And he was practically bald. So, and he just like, his face was not the same reaction as that other woman's, because he barely had any hair. "I love your hair." And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And thankfully we were passing through, and it wasn't like we were, could you imagine if we were like standing on like, oh, that reminds me of another thing that she said. We were standing in line. I was standing in line trying to pick her up from her VPK class. And there was a grandmother of a child picking up their grandchild at the VPK class. And then Jana comes out, I pick her up, and this woman, this grandma woman, she was obviously a grandma, she wasn't a parent of a VPKer. And Jana saw this woman, had a very weathered look, that, just that classic, like probably had been smoking for a couple of decades, and just lots of wrinkles, and just very grandma-ish. And Jana walks by her and comes over to me, and she goes, "That's an old grandma," right in front of her. And I'm just like, and the grandma goes, "Who, me?" And I'm like, what do you say? What do you say to this woman who was surprised? It was like, why are you surprised? But also, like, just, I'm so embarrassed that Jana just blurted that out. But you just can't control what comes out of your children's mouths. And these are just the more minor things. Like, then there are like the tantrums and things. We'll get to that. So, but I have the embarrassing story of all embarrassing stories. Are you ready? So we used to be foster parents, and our first foster son came to us in 2018, I think. And cute little guy, he had just turned 3. You could barely understand anything he said. And then I think we had him for 2 days, and we took him to church for the first time. And my mom happened to be visiting that week. So we decided, hey, mom, stay home with the other kids, just have like a lazy day with them. We're kind of all adjusting to this new season of foster care, and we'll call him Bobby. Okay, we'll take little Bobby to church, and we'll do our thing. So we take him to church, we drop him off in the nursery, and we're worship leaders, so he was in there for a while, and then we come out and pick him up, and I pick him up from the nursery, and the nursery woman just let us know, hey, just so you know, Bobby said the F word today. And we were like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And of course they know us, they knew our journey that we were starting. They were like, it's totally fine, we just wanted to let you know. So we were like, oh man, that's pretty crazy, but kind of, not totally shocking from the environment that he had come from. And so we're just like, okay. Then we were like, hey, let's take little Bobby out to lunch. Let's go to Steak and Shake. Let's get to know each other. He had just moved in with our family a few days before that. And we just took the opportunity without the other kids. And we were like, let's just go hang out and just let him get to know us, and we'll get to know him, this little 3-year-old guy. And so we go to Steak and Shake, and nobody knows we're a foster family. Nobody knows we're foster parents. Nobody knows our situation, that we don't know this child and this child doesn't know us. It just looks like we're taking our toddler out. And we sit down in the booth, and little Bobby, in a very happy tone, says, what the? Loud as can be. And Andrew and I are just like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, what do you do? You can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't stand up and be like, we just became foster parents. He just came. Like, we're not going to tell his story. That's not fair to him. Or like, nobody cares. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to reprimand him. He doesn't know what he's saying. It was something that he had heard. So you just have to smile and be the parents who are sitting with their 3-year-old son who is yelling the F word over and over and over. What he was probably doing was, it was probably something that he had heard many times, and I'm assuming that when he had said it before, it got some sort of reaction from a grown-up, like maybe some negative attention, I don't know. But he was definitely like looking for a reaction from us. So we were just like, and we just smiled and we ordered our food, and he did it a couple of times nice and loud, and then he stopped. Didn't stop altogether, but stopped for that day. It did continue for probably a few weeks. We did try a strategy with him where we tried to give him an alternative to say instead of saying that. So instead of saying what the we would say, what in the world? And we would all laugh, and we were trying to teach him, like, you can say this and it's so much fun and so cool, and we're all gonna laugh and give you this great reaction. So the only thing that backfired about that was every time he said what the blank, we would shift it and go, what in the world? Ha! And he loved it so much that he realized that the way to get us to go, what in the world? Ha! And to get this like fun reaction where everybody cracks up laughing, because that was our like strategy. He realized, oh, I love when they do that, so I'm gonna say what the blank to get them to do that. So it kind of backfired. So we kind of had to like adjust a little bit and be like, hey, okay, let's just not react at all. And eventually he completely forgot that he ever knew that word as part of his vocabulary. So just a lot of smiling and nodding and just knowing that you will survive. I got a comment on Facebook the other day when I asked for people to just share any questions or embarrassing stories for this tea and talk. And my friend said, what do you do when you are in a public restroom with your 3-year-old and she says loudly, Mommy, did you just toot? Do you have to go poop, Mommy? Ew, stinky. And I said, I'm totally going to address this. I don't really have an answer for you, but I feel like this in some form has happened to all of us. And you just have to, you have a couple of options. You can just have a full-on conversation right there in the bathroom stall and be like, yes, honey, that was me. Sorry about that, pardon me. And you can just kind of go with it, and you can even say, yep, everybody toots and everybody poops, and you know, it's okay, we're in the bathroom. That's where, if you have to toot, you have to poop, this is where you do it. And you can just take it in stride and just go for it that way. The other option is you stay in that stall quietly until you know that everybody who heard it leaves, and then you just walk out like nothing ever happened, and you never ever go there again. Just kidding. So those are basically the two choices. You choose. And again, like I said before, these stories that embarrass us so much as parents are going to embarrass them as teenagers. So write them down, make a little journal, and then when they have their first date or they come home late from their curfew, you say, oh, okay, you want to have your friends over this weekend? I'm gonna make dinner for everybody. Then you get out your journal and say, hey honey, remember when you were late the other day? I just wanted to tell a few stories. And then you just get them back that way. Just a little strategy. Just think about how one day you can use it against them. And then there are the fun little things that are very, very embarrassing and you just really don't know what to do. Those are the tantrums. Tantrums happen at many ages, but mostly in toddlerhood. And they come in all forms. Sometimes a toddler is tantruming because they have a tooth coming in and they're just in pain and there's really no reason for it. Sometimes they're tantruming because they see something that they want and they want it and you're saying, no, we can't get that, and they tantrum about it. Many reasons for tantrums. They're just having a bad day, or maybe they're tantruming because they know that you're in public and they just want to test and see what the reaction is going to be. I have a few strategies for how I deal with tantrums, and just a few things that I keep in mind when the tantrums are in full effect. One of them that I came up with recently is I sing a little song, and this is funny because sometimes it works to just get your toddler to be like, why? Uh-oh, I think I have a baby waking up. Sometimes it just like freaks your kid out, like, why is she singing happily right now? And also, like, if like other parents or other people are around, you're in a public place, and you start singing to your tantruming toddler in like a nice, sweet little voice, it just kind of throws everybody off enough that usually it kind of rectifies the situation. And here's the little song. It's to the tune of If You're Happy and You Know It, and it goes like this. If you need to throw a tantrum, let it out. If you need to throw a tantrum, scream and shout. If you really need to do it, I'll be there to help you through it. If you need to throw a tantrum, scream and shout. Or if you need to throw a tantrum, let it out. And you can clap along with it. If you need to throw a tantrum, let it out. See if they want to clap along with you, and maybe the other people and the other parents are like, yeah, I need to throw a tantrum. The other parents are trying to survive the grocery store or Marshall's or wherever, the doctor's office. Oh, those are fun. Yeah, wherever that tantrum is, like, yeah, you just sing along. You can start a whole like flash mob. If you need to throw a tantrum, let it out. If you need to throw a tantrum, scream and shout. If you really need to do it, I'll be there to help you through it. Maybe give them a little hug. I'll be there to help you through it. If you need to throw a tantrum, let it out. And that sometimes works, and sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't and your toddler is heck bent on just getting out their emotions, you just kind of let them. Because you don't want it to get to a spot where you're going to escalate and you're going to have your adult tantrum. It happens to everybody. The best thing that you can do is stay calm. So The other thing that you want to keep in mind is wherever you are, somebody is there who is so thankful that it's not just their kid who throws tantrums, because we live in a social media world where nobody's really posting about throwing tantrums. So you just kind of assume that like everybody else's kids don't throw as many tantrums as your kid does. So when you actually see that in public and see like natural human beings acting like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old in a natural environment, like it's okay. And the parents are actually looking, going like, okay, good. It's not just me. So keep that in mind. It's kind of like when what you would tell your child like in school, like if you have a question, ask the question. Don't be embarrassed, because there's probably somebody else who is so glad that you asked that question because they were too nervous to ask that question. So where are we? The other thing is, set very clear boundaries before you enter a situation. And I would kind of set them every time, like especially in the grocery store, things that are kind of like, I want to say like hot button, but like not hot button, but like high tantrum areas, like where a storm could just kind of brew. Especially if you have like more than one child with you, or if there's fighting, just set really clear boundaries. Bribery, probably not the best way to go. If you're really good here, I'll give you a lollipop, because then you have to kind of supply, and then they kind of are like looking for that reward. It should just be a clear boundary before you enter. However you want to say it, I'd like to see, I'd like you to be on your best behavior here. If you need something, you can talk to me. If you want something, you can ask me. And if I say no, that means no. And we can talk about it. You can use your voice. But if I say no, I'm not going to change my mind. And then if you want to set some very clear boundaries in terms of if the boundaries are crossed, or they are disobedient, or they do this, then this is the consequence that will happen. If they know that there's a consequence coming, they are, whatever the consequence is, like depending on the age, if it's like a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, oh, you know how you wanted to play the Noggin app later, or you wanted to watch a show later, just make sure you're on your best behavior, because I know you really want to watch that show, and you know what to say. And I don't know, like I might have to take that show away. I'll have to take that show away if you don't listen to me when we're, going here or there or whatever. When you set those boundaries ahead of time, you will be less likely to over-threaten in the moment. Because if your child is testing you, and you start threatening, we're like, okay, let's say you're in a fun public place. Like, let's say you're at story time, or you're like at a really fun activity, especially an activity that you paid. Story time is usually free, but if you are at Busch Gardens, or at just like a really special place that you paid money for, if you say something like, if you keep acting like that, we're gonna leave. Now, number one, the child is probably gonna keep acting like that, because the child is a child. And if you say that we're gonna leave and then go, shoot, I don't wanna leave because I paid money, I just want my child to act better. So if you say that, and then the child continues the tantrum, or the disobedience, or the bad behavior, then you're kind of caught, because if you said it, you kind of have to follow through. We've all had the moments where we say something in the moment and we don't follow through. It happens to all of us, but we can kind of go back and go, yeah, that wasn't a good idea, because they remember those things very, very well. So if you don't follow through with something, they're going to test that boundary even harder next time. The other thing that I try to keep in mind when I have my kids in public with me is to not get caught up, not even care at all what other people may or may not be thinking when my child acts up. My husband and I, so I think probably because I have more experience with all the public humiliation with my children, it can roll off my back a lot easier. My husband has gotten a lot better, but like for many years, he would like freeze up and he like couldn't handle how embarrassing our kids could be. Or if we're in a place where they're like kind of supposed to be quiet and they were being loud, or maybe they're not even supposed to be quiet, but they're just being louder than he wanted them to be. And he gets like really embarrassed, like, guys, stop. It's like, they're kids, like they're gonna act like kids. Like if they're crossing a line, yeah, we'll deal with that. But he can get very like, but like, what are people thinking? He doesn't like actually think like, oh no, what are people thinking? But he can get caught up in like the all eyes are on us kind of scenario. And I've over the years just gone very like, which is ironic because with the two of us, I'm definitely the more high-strung, dramatic one, and he is so laid back. So you wouldn't think it would be like this. You would think I would freak out. Not that he freaks out, but like inside, he's freaking out. So I have to really encourage him, like, it just doesn't matter what people think. Like, I don't care if people think our kids are being louder than whatever, as long as they're not hurting anybody and not whatever, like as long as they're being okay, that's okay. And then, so I have just really had to embrace the idea of, I don't care what anyone around me is thinking. This is between me and my child, and I will decide if my child's behavior is okay, if my child's tantrum is going to have to cause us to leave. Like there was one time several months ago where Camden and I were at story time, and for some reason he was just overwhelmed, overstimulated, and he was being so bad. It was so embarrassing because usually he's like pretty okay with that kind of stuff. And it was like bad, and we just had to leave because like usually I can stick those things out, but I was just like, oh, we're gonna go. Like this is actually ruining it for other people, so we're gonna go. And it's embarrassing, but like it's just we survived, and we've been to story time since then, and it's okay, and he's gotten more used to it. Sometimes their little brains and hearts are just going through things, whether it's physical, they're in pain, maybe they have an earache coming on you don't know about, maybe they're teething, maybe they're just having growing pains and they're overstimulated. Whatever it is, they're going through it, and you can deal with it calmly in the moment and see if you can kind of move through it, or if you have to leave, it's okay. Just take them out and say, we'll try again next time. And it just doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. I remember a day when I took the kids to two places. Okay, I'm at Publix a lot, so the first place is gonna be Publix. And I remember, I think Andy was a baby at the time, like maybe 1 year old or something, at 1 or 2, and I had him and the girls, and we were going through Publix, and he was screaming in Publix, and it actually wasn't even like tantrum screaming. He was doing like happy screams. I don't know if it sounded that way to other people, but he was just using his voice, and he's being so loud, and he was so little that I probably tried to go like shh, tried to probably quiet him down, but at the same time, it wasn't hurting anybody. It was just, we were moving through the grocery store, and then we were gonna be on our way. And this older lady passing through the aisle just gave me this look. Like, I don't know exactly what she was thinking, but if the look could speak, it was, what is wrong with your child? And why are you letting him scream? And what a horrible sound. It was just like, she had like a look that could kill. And it was just very like, okay, like, sorry that I have children and we have to go to the store so that we can eat, So I moved along, and then that day I took them later to Hobby Lobby, and I was looking for like a fabric or something, and the girls were kind of like running and playing like hide and seek in the fabrics. It was getting a little chaotic, and Andy was watching them, and he was being like loud because he's like entertained by what they're doing. And I was trying to calm them down. I was like, come on guys, like, because they were getting a little rowdy, and I was trying to kind of tone it down because I just had that very like yucky look in Publix, and I just wanted to like survive this one without like the looks of death. And this older lady about the same age as the other one came over to me, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, she's gonna like tell me to like keep my kids in line. And because the girls were like giggling, like cackling with like laughter, playing hide and seek among the little fabric things. And she comes over to me, and Andy is cackling with laughter, and it's just so loud and a little chaotic. And she comes over to me, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, she's gonna like tell me to like quiet my kids down or something. She comes over and she's like, that is the most beautiful sound. And I could just cry thinking about that, because I was just like, thank you for not only like, I mean, she could have just thought that to herself and moved along and just thought like, oh, how sweet, and just moved along. But she actually like made her way over to me and gave me a compliment on how loud my children were being in the store. And I was just like, oh, thank you so much for saying that. And it was like, I remember talking about that at the time and saying, I think I learned a good lesson from that. Spend more time at Hobby Lobby. And so you just never know what people are thinking. And some of them are going to judge you, and they're probably having a bad day too. And some of them are probably actually thinking that you're doing a really good job as a parent. The last thing I want to mention is, let's all remember that when we are not the parent of the tantruming, misbehaving, loud children, embarrassing children in public, we might be the person surrounding somebody who is in that moment. So what can we do to help, even if it's just a quiet, like smile, like if there's a mom or a dad or a grandma or a foster parent, maybe a parent of a special needs child, like we're all going through something with our children at one point or another. And you don't know what that family is dealing with in the moment, whether they're actually going through something really tough and it's just a really tough day, or their kid's just being a kid and the mom or the dad or the grandparent, they're just trying to do their best. So no matter what the scene looks like, even if you don't agree with the way the parent is handling it, maybe the parent's starting to get frustrated and starting to react in a not nice way, there's really nothing you can do that's going to make that parent a better parent in that moment. You giving them a look of like, ugh, what is wrong with you as a parent? What's wrong with your kid? Like, it's just not gonna help. So when I say you have a choice in how you react, take that choice out. You are not allowed to give a mean look. You are not allowed to say something rude. So that is not a choice. Our choices are, you can just silently move on and let them deal with it without paying any attention. Maybe say a little prayer for them and just pray that they have a better day. Or if it's appropriate, you can just walk by and either give a smile, and like when a mom gives another mom, or even like a grandma gives another grandma, a parent gives another parent, like that smile, it's like you can give a look of, is it sympathy or empathy? I get them confused. Sympathy, I guess. You can give them a look of sympathy, kind of like, I got you. I know like what you're going through in this moment. I might not be having this moment right now, but I feel you, and it's gonna be okay. You don't even, especially as moms, like we have a look, just, what's that Hunger Games thing where they like hold up their hand, like I know, it's not easy. Or you can just say something, if it's appropriate in that moment, like, hang in there, mom, you're doing great, like, or say something like, I was right there yesterday, like, it's gonna be okay. Or just like share something that, whether it's a smile or just a quick word that is encouraging to somebody else, no matter how they are parenting in the moment. And especially like if you see a situation where you just really disagree with how they're handling it, maybe just ask, can I help you in any way? Maybe pay for their groceries. Maybe give them a compliment, like, your little one's so cute or something, because even if they're throwing a tantrum, they can still be cute. So you can help other parents, and we can kind of create more of a culture. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. You're gonna make me cry. Oh, that makes me feel so good. Okay, I'm actually tearing up, sorry. That makes me feel so good because I'm certainly not an expert, but I do have so many years of experience with my own children being crazy and just in foster parenting and dealing with all the public places and trying to survive it. So thank you. I really appreciate that comment. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that. And that's really all I have for all of us today. If you have any stories that you would like to share, I would love to, if you want to keep them private, just let me know. Just say this is totally private, but I want to share that I went through this. You just let me know that it's private. If it's something that you wouldn't mind, a funny story or just like a crazy embarrassing story or whatever that you wouldn't mind if I shared maybe on Instagram, just like a little blurb just to kind of like open up the community aspect of this type of tea and talk, just share it with me. You can either message me on Instagram at Mother Rabbit's Kitchen, or you can email me at motherrabbitskitchen@gmail.com. But yeah, or you can comment on this video. But for some reason, like the comments don't, when it's live, the comments don't stay on the video. If you comment after the video has processed and gone into like the archives, then the comment will stay, I think. But yeah, so we are all in the thick of parenting, whether your child is 1 or 21 or even 31. Parenting is just never really easy. There are seasons that are easier than others and days that are easier than others. And then on the other side, there are days and seasons that are harder than others. So let's just do this together. Let's be real with each other. Let's tell our embarrassing stories, maybe not right in that moment. Sometimes it takes a few hours or a few days or years to be like, I'm ready to share what happened there. But let's surround each other with a little encouragement, and also remember that it doesn't matter what the Karens think of your parenting or your tantruming, disobedient child in public. It just doesn't matter. You do your best, try to stay calm, and hang in there, because this too shall pass. Thank you guys for hanging out. This was our first Tea and Talk Tuesday. I cannot wait to do this again next week. I have an idea of a topic that I want to do, but I'm also very open to suggestions. So if you want to talk about anything to do with motherhood, parenthood, food, we can talk about cooking. We can talk about anything and everything. We can talk about community, friendships, relationships, marriage. We can talk about church. We can talk about school. We can talk about anything. So you guys tell me what you want to chat about, and we will do this again at 1:30 next Tuesday. Thank you guys. Have a great day.